Howdy folks, welcome. L2PS2 episode 23 here on January 5th. Oh my god, it's 2015. Last episode was in the past, in the year 2014. It is now next year. So Happy New Year, everybody. I have no plans whatsoever for this episode right now. But I guess that's fitting. Hello and welcome to everybody in the chat. Thanks for stopping by. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, thank you for watching it as well. Some announcements coming up this week. People are back in the office officially, whether you're at SOE or otherwise. Today is probably the day that you're back in the office after your holiday break, unless you're like me and you've been working all through it anyway. But I'd say most industries probably had a little bit of a break at least, and you're back in the office or otherwise. So we should be hearing some things. We've got some PTS changes going out, client hot fixes for stabilization that have already went out, and SMED has posted a handful of things on Twitter and on Reddit that you might be interested in checking out if you haven't already. Most notably, the fact that we will be actually getting a solid date for when we can play PS2 on PS4 in the next couple of days, sometime this week. Probably between now and Friday. You may have even already heard if you're watching this in a VOD after the fact. But that's really cool news. It's probably right around the corner. We've kind of known that for a while, but haven't had our hands on a specific dates. We will be getting that soon. H1Z1 Early Access is also only 10 days away on January 15th, so SOE's got a lot of things coming out the gate, and that's really exciting. I'll be playing both as soon as I possibly can, and streaming them. I don't know if I'll be doing the PS4 streams on L2PS2. Maybe I'll do an episode, but I'm going to be really bad with a controller, so I don't know if that's good for the L2PS2 brand or not. But if nothing else, I'll be streaming both on ItZMuRdA.com or twitch.tv/ItZMuRdA_TV pretty much any other day of the week. But so I will see you guys for that in the near future as well. You got that to look forward to. And I probably had something else to say, but it has escaped my mind for now, so let's introduce the show after we've already been talking for a few minutes. I am ItZMuRdA, if that wasn't obvious, or if you're tuning in for the first time. These are my 4 main characters in-game. One of each character on Emerald, and then a VS Connery character that I play with Future Crew. All of them are BR100, and like I said, span the 3 empires, so I'd like to think that I've put a considerable amount of time into the game and into playing all of the various empires and classes and things like that. And I'm here to talk to you guys, hang out, answer questions, share knowledge, etc., and just most importantly have some fun. L2PS2 is infantry focused in scope, just based on the fact that infantry is 99% of what I play and what I feel that I'm actually good at in the game, or above average at, if you will. And we just kind of go through the motions. We got some giveaways. We usually do at least 2 giveaways a week on this show. We've been doing some other giveaways as well. Just recently did a bunch for the holidays, and if you were one of those winners, those have been shipped out today. We'll be doing a bunch more when we hit our next follower milestone. So it's just lots of awesome free stuff. We like that. And I actually have some Golden Gun Twitter giveaways going on right now. Didn't even really intend to plug that, but it just kind of worked that way, so I'll take it. That giveaway will be open until Wednesday night, and I'll link it in the chat for anybody who's in here. If you want to head on over to there, if you don't have the golden starter pistols, you can just follow and retweet if you aren't already. And there you go, you're entered to win. I'll be picking 3 winners and then contacting you via Twitter DM. And that's just one of random giveaways. I do most of them on Twitch, but on other social media platforms as well. And without further ado, I'm just going to log in on NC because the hard light armor looks so cool on a dark blue camo background. And go from there. If anybody has any questions or wants to play along or whatever, you're more than welcome to. I will be playing on Emerald. I just don't know what empire for certain, or what combination of empires. We'll be playing different ones. I'm going to take a look at the map. Right now my map is set up for NC. You tend to use gray for friendly colors and 2 different shades of red for enemy colors. Just a personal preference here. It looks pretty wacky on the map if you're not used to looking at that, but it's just easy for me, mostly on my HUD, on my actual when I'm in, actually in-game fighting people, to quickly identify friend and foe. Yeah, I hear you, man. Hopefully soon, now that everybody's back in the office. Divide. Yeah. Yeah. No, Smed's hard at work addressing things, so I don't blame them for taking their holiday vacations. I'm glad that they get to enjoy that time with friends and family, but I think they're pretty serious about getting things back in working order where it can use some elbow grease. So no worries on that front. Just kind of mulling through the maps here, also checking the reinforcements needed locations. Oftentimes there'll be a decent spot like Galaxy Solar. It's a relatively evenly popped fight, medium size to larger scale, or Mulak Foundry, which is a poor choice in my opinion. Very, very small fight with 3-to-1 enemy pop, but still only 1 to 12 enemies. It's probably only like 1 or 2 friendlies, and yeah, it just shifted to 40-60. Probably like 2 friendlies, 3 enemies, something very insignificant going around over there. If the continent you're warping into is full, you'll just get a warp queue and notification pop up, and then you'll have to go back into the warp gate. And yes, you can often hit your instant action to see if it's going to take you to the same place you were going to go, but it looks like we probably killed a Sunderer just because of the massive shift in population in our favor over at Galaxy Solar anyway. So what I might try to do is just fly into Coromet. I'm not a huge fan of attacking bases if I can defend them instead, but we'll see what that looks like, and if I'm not feeling the fights for NC, I might just start off on one of the other empires just for the heck of it. Yeah, speaking of gunners, the yellow glasses are, in fact, unofficially gunners, but I have been wearing them for quite some time. So I'm going to do that right now as well. If you're unfamiliar with gunners, they're intended primarily for gaming and are great for extended periods of looking at a monitor. Or otherwise TV or computer or what have you. And polar bears, yeah, just kind of my favorite animal for no particular reason other than that's just kind of how it happened over the course of my life. Nice S1. And the two of them together, what could be better? But yeah, I mean, you can look into it, Gunner Optics, if you're interested. But yeah, I mean, they're supposed to, among other things, cut down on screen glare and just be kind of easier on your eyes and your brain. I don't know about the brain part, but I said that because it sounds appropriate when being exposed to a screen for long periods of time, if that makes any sense. I'm sure they explain it better than I do. Hey, Ayo. I'm pretty sure that's how it works, Minnie. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. So this is a little dangerous, to say the least, right now. A lot of guys right here can kind of pop up and kill something and pop down. I was being especially impatient there. I didn't wait for my shields. It's not what I should have done, but you get the idea. As I said, I'm not usually a huge fan of attacking bases. In this particular situation, we've got Sunderers right here, so we're literally back in the action within seconds of respawning. And we also are, at least for light assault, which is what I'm spawning as at the moment, I'm able to get right back into the action as well. Might not be exactly the same case for a class that couldn't fly up the wall here. And despite the fact that there are a ton of enemies to shoot me, I more or less am in an advantageous situation, at least as far as attacking goes. This is one of those situations that we often get into where I talk about horizontal cover as a means of kind of creating cover where there isn't any. Normally you think of vertical cover as a point of line of sight or whatever, but I'm using this foreground in front of me to kind of sneak up on slow peek to see where enemies are at, and kind of dip back to if I'm under fire too much. Likewise, I can do that with the lip here. You get a kind of a feel of both. This being the vertical, that being the horizontal. So it's one of those things that I feel like is not terribly obvious to the brand new player, especially if it's somebody that's not extremely familiar with FPSs or FPSs with alternative movement systems and, you know, the ability to fly or jetpack around or double jump or get up into higher spaces. So especially as a light assault, it's always something I kind of try to mention when I feel like it's a good position. These slanted roofs are good since you have cover from really wherever you need it, unless somebody just so happens to sneak up on you as a light assault or as a vehicle or something like that. Kind of make your own way with this, picking off targets as need be. That guy's able to shoot me through there, which is a little inconvenient, but I still should ideally have the advantage on him. It does have 30 FPS, Nick, and you're probably used to the normal 60 FPS that I stream on my channel. But since this is recorded with the intent of becoming a VOD and going on YouTube and highlights and things like that, it's recorded and streamed at 1080p 30 FPS instead of 720p 60 FPS. It's just kind of a preset for how that works. But no potatoes. No, we're at 3500 bitrate, full speed ahead. I mean, there could, for whatever reason, be throttling the potatoes, but shouldn't be. Doesn't appear to be dropping frames either, from what I can tell. Got a full green light, 3500 bitrate, 1080p 30 FPS, which is what I always stream on. I have a preset for the L2PS2 stream, so typically doesn't change. So I'm not sure what would be the reason for experiencing that, if so. Whoa, right through the wall. Does it look especially bad to you? I mean, I personally prefer the 720p 60 that I normally stream at on my channel, but like I said, for production purposes, I do the 1080p. Yeah, on my channel, on ItZMuRdA.com or ItZMuRdA_TV, I normally stream 720p at 60 FPS, which kind of almost gives the illusion, in my opinion, that it looks better than 1080p 30. I've always kind of preferred that. If I had a choice between the two, the butter-like frames at 720p, I prefer over 1080 30. It's interesting, Dusk. I don't know what. Yeah, OBS is, you know, it's variable, but it's right around 3500. Maybe I'm being capped by somebody. No respect for the PlanetSide 2 channel. Yeah, no, I hear you, Nick. But that's, like I said, since YouTube, you can't watch YouTube at over 30 FPS. But you can watch it at 1080p. That's just been why I've set up recordings like that, or VODs or what have you. Whoa. We got people coming through walls, and even though I have 90 MS. Interesting enough. Yeah, Lime, I definitely think so. I mean, hard to predict anything for sure. But I definitely think so. As much as I'm a little sad to admit it, just because I'm a keyboard mouse, PC gamer at heart, and always have been, the FPS genre on consoles, and just consoles in general, has a hugely expansive community and following. And I mean, you just see it if you tune into anything Call of Duty, Xbox related or otherwise. And even with Destiny and so on and so forth, it's a very significant following, and free to play. I don't really think they've seen anything like PlanetSide that they've had so accessible to them in the past. And yeah, I'm excited about what that means for the franchise, for the game, for the community. But yeah, I don't know if that answers the question. This question scrolled off my screen. But yeah, I think it will. Hopefully it continues to be a success. Yeah, that is correct. Oh geez. I'm not a huge YouTuber. I just mostly upload VODs and highlights and things after the fact from streams. I used to create more videos when spare time allowed, but it's mostly uploads of streamed content now, even if partially edited. But yeah, I mean, I believe you can do a 1080p 60. I can't record at 1080p 60. I have to either pick one or the other, as far as my own streaming capabilities with the capture card that I have. So, shy of investing in a capture card that could do that, because of course if I could do it at 1080p 60, then you get the best of both worlds. Why not, right? But when having to choose between 720p 60 and 1080p 30, I just tend to prefer, perhaps I didn't explain entirely well, I tend to prefer the 720p 60 for my own viewing and my own stream, but if it's something that's going on YouTube, I know a lot of people like to see things in 1080p, even though I don't think it makes that much of a difference at these bit rates and whatnot. So I tend to err on the side of 1080p, even if it means 30 FPS. If you guys would rather all of these be 720p 60, I can do that. I just don't have the capability of 1080p 60 at the moment. Yeah, Lime, I'm certainly hoping so as well. Even just in terms of revitalizing the game for people who used to play PC, but it's kind of a thing again, and maybe they'll come back to the game, check out some of the changes that have happened since they've been gone, that sort of stuff. Hey, Calorie, thanks. Yeah, Nick, it's totally a personal preference sort of thing. So if the feedback is overwhelmingly that you guys would rather me just stream at 720p 60 for this sort of thing, I also do like 1080p for patch note overviews and stuff like that. I think that was Josk's suggestion a while back, just so that they're more legible and whatnot on screen. Wow, that felt a little delayed. I heard it and I was like, oh, maybe it is gonna blow up. So yeah, I guess take that for what it's worth. I'm kind of impartial in terms of what you guys prefer, so always open to feedback. That's just why I've done it the way I've done it in the past. But if you guys think the 60 FPS 720p looks better, it's not something I can change on the fly, but it's certainly something I could change for next week. Also, something worth mentioning probably sooner than 20 minutes into the show, I believe starting next week, I'm about 99% sure at this point in time that I'm going to bump up the time of the show just by a half hour and do 9 to 10 Eastern or 6 to 7 Pacific instead of 9:30 to 10:30 or 6:30 to 7:30. So it's just going to start a half hour sooner, end a half hour sooner. I just have some new increasing responsibilities at work and some changes to my schedule. So I'm making some slight modifications to streaming schedules as long as they work. I just need to, oh nice, waiver. I just need to clear that with the SOE folks when I get a chance to talk to them this week, make sure that works for them. But given Inside the Player Studio is no longer on Mondays before me, I think that should be fine. And that would work a little bit better for me since it allows me to get to bed a little bit earlier like the old man that I am, among other things. So plan on episode 24 next week starting at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific, and just going for the normal hour. Everything else remains the same. I will announce again and confirm and so forth once I know for certain. But that's the plan. I don't think that's too big of a deal for anybody. If anything, those of you guys who it's currently 4 in the morning, it might be easier, even slightly easier for you to tune in. So I hope it helps somebody out. Other than just myself. But and then for those of you who are unfamiliar, on my channel at ItZMuRdA.com or ItZMuRdA_TV, I often there's an awful pit spawn. I'll try it. I often stream most of the other nights midweek, at least Tuesday through Saturday. I still plan on doing that, or at least Tuesday through Friday. Saturday's a little iffy since my work schedule has changed for Saturday as well. So Saturday and Monday are kind of the days that got impacted by the recent change. So we'll kind of see how that pans out, and I'll keep you guys informed. But most of the other days of the week I'll still be streaming over on my channel as well. The recent departures, I mean, Treadstone, of course, it's always, it's never, I don't think, a happy thing. Whenever you know, an employee or a prominent community member or fan site or, you know, anything like that was exceptionally helpful to the community and to just the overall morale and spirit of the players. I mean, it's never a good thing, but I think I can respectfully say that I completely understand where they're coming from and respect their decisions and wish them the best, and I hope to see all of them back again in the future. I try not to get too involved in stuff like that, too wrapped up in it, but it's, you know, a lot of respect for all of those folks and wish them the best, and like I said, I hope to see them again in the future, and I think in large part we will, as additional patches go out and content gets added and PS4 and so on and so forth. Every so often, especially folks that work so hard to bring content to the community, really just need a break more than anything, and I think that's understandable, and it's not the last that we've seen of them and whatnot. I'm still personally optimistic. I think not only is PlanetSide 2 still a great game with a great core community, and still, you know, increasing in interest, at least in terms of I see new players hop into my channel all the time and, you know, mention that they just picked up the game or they're interested in it or they can't wait for it to come to PS4 or, you know, insert reason here. So I'm hoping it'll continue to grow. I think it has at least a few more tricks up its sleeve for massive pushes of what community involvement and increasing the player base. Of course, chiefly among them being the PS4 launch. So I'm hoping that works out as best as it possibly can for everybody, players, developers, community alike, and we'll kind of go from there. Yeah, Frozen Frosty, it's Smed actually announced today that within the next couple of days, his words, not mine, will be receiving a date, an official date on when we can play it in beta on PS4, and I would expect it to be pretty soon. As of about just under a month ago, they submitted for the closed technical beta for PS4, and I'm assuming they got some good news over the holidays. and then we'll have an idea of when we'll move forward on that. At this point, personally, just speaking completely off the cuff with no insider knowledge whatsoever, I wouldn't be surprised if it was end of January. I also wouldn't be surprised if it was March. I'd say I would be surprised if it was beyond the first quarter. So we'll see. Hopefully sooner rather than later on that front. And I'll certainly be hopping in and kind of learning the game, relearning the game in terms of controls and UI and functionality, as well as being absolutely terrible with a controller. But also I think that's kind of critical to being able to answer questions from console players, and kind of, even if I'm primarily playing PC, still able to assist. You bet, Frozen. Thank you for stopping by. Yeah, I think it's more of what Pal said as well, just kind of revitalizing the community and attention to the game in general, and like I said, bringing some people back who played the PC version 2 years ago and quit because of reasons XYZ, and now they're like, oh wow, look at all this new content, let me try it out again. I still have it on Steam or whatever the case may be. Or, folks that might play on a console because they do have a PS4. I think it just, it brings more people to fan sites, to social media, to just community efforts in general. Puts more money in SOE's pocket, which is something we often forget about or take for granted, or act as though they're doing something terribly wrong because they want to make money off the game. But that's also vital to the further success of both the PS4 and the PC versions. It's not going to be cross-platform just because there's too many factors that are a little bit wacky as far as that goes, in terms of PC players having a 2+ year head start and different control schemes and things like that. So I think that makes the most sense as far as keeping it separate. Well, of course, it has its downsides in the short term of not having a ton of people playing in the same area, or being able to hop on and kill folks from one version or the other if you're exceptionally good with a keyboard and mouse or a controller. But I think long term it makes sense. Speaking of which, we do have some giveaways. The show's about halfway over already. I can't believe I've been talking the entire time without a breath. I am giving away the usual polar bear decal that I'm so very proud of. My very own logo that you see in the top right-hand corner of your screen, immortalized in-game as a infantry and vehicle decal. I give away at least one of those each week, so I'll be giving away one momentarily here on the bottom of the screen. It'll come up as a code, first come, first serve, one-time use, just because that's the nature of how the codes work on the back end. And you can enter it in-game at the Redeem a Code section if you want to get that ready, or log into planetsite2.com, enter activation code, and enter it in that field as well. I also give one away, or award one, or whatever you want to call it, to my moderators over on my channel, as well as any of my subscribers, past, present, or future, on my Twitch channel. So if you do feel like supporting the channel, you enjoy things that much, you want to help me out, I really do appreciate it. But you also get a polar bear decal as a thank you, complimentary for that, for what that is worth. Hoping to bring more things to that in the future, but for the time being, I do appreciate it. And wouldn't be possible without all you guys. Wow, my flight sensitivity feels really weird. Oh, we got debris landing on everybody. Did that actually kill that guy? With the white camo? That'd be pretty funny. Oh boy. Whoa, that was an interesting hitch. I haven't had something like that happen in a while. Sorry, Joss. Anyway, here comes the decal. Sorry for like the long intro, and then I never pressed it because I was in combat. Bam. I also have a NS Deep Freeze, the snowball gun pistol. It's kind of just a fun item. It also has a title associated with it. It's available as part of the holiday bundle, the past couple of weeks. and previously last year during the winter holiday event. No longer available at the moment, and probably won't be again, if I had to guess, until next December. So if you didn't get your hands on one, that's a good one that you'll want to get ready to try to win. I do have a few more, so for the next few weeks I'll be giving those away. I ran out of the NS11 CP codes, but if I restock on any of those or anything similar, I'll be back into the loop of giving those away as well. I think the golden gun codes that I have are not the traditional one code gives you all 3 guns. They're very specific. You either get the NC or the VS or the TR. So I think what I'm going to do with those, since that's kind of awkward for a on-screen rush to type it first sort of giveaway, I'm going to be using those as a means of... Oh, that proxy mine set me up. I'm going to be using those as a means of giveaways for things like Twitter, first and foremost, perhaps Facebook. I don't know that Google Plus or Instagram or whatever has enough followers to be a competitive arena for any sort of giveaway right now. But as social media outlets grow, I'll use more and more of them to appeal to whoever utilizes them. And I think that's an easy giveaway to do on those places, and then I'll just PM you a code. You tell me which empire you want. And so keep an eye out for those over the next couple weeks or months as giveaway items on there, because I think it just makes a little bit more sense for that sort of a format. Outside of that, yeah, we do usually one polar bear decal plus something else each week on this show every Monday night. Now 9 to 10 Eastern starting next week. And we just did a whole bunch of giveaways, many digital items, like I think 10 or so digital items plus 4 physical items that I just mailed out today to the winners. Did that for on my channel as well. Really enjoyed that, and then we'll be doing some more giveaways at 5,000 followers, and hopefully relatively near future. Let me turn off that code for the time being. Congrats whomever received that. And then I also linked the gold pistol giveaway that is currently going on, that I was referring to, on Twitter. I'll probably do one maybe on, like I said, maybe on Facebook at some point, or anything like that. You can find my Twitter from that link that I put in chat, the bit.ly link. My Facebook or any other social media can be found on my own channel at ItZMuRdA.com. If you scroll down below the stream, there's links to all of that. Or it's just ItZMuRdA X, an X before and an X after the name, is usually the username that I use, or handle that I use, for most social media outlets. So you can just plug that into a Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or otherwise URL as well. Just a heads up to kind of cross-promote other SOE titles. I believe I mentioned briefly at the beginning, H1Z1's going to early access, the SOE's Zombie Survival MMO, if you're unfamiliar. Going to early access on January 15th. Should be a lot of fun. Good friends with Clegg and Jimmy, who are kind of heading up the development along with other long-standing SOE devs, so really looking forward to what they've got in store for us there. And while I won't be streaming it on L2PS2 because that's just a little weird, and I will definitely continue to do these shows Monday nights, you may see a temporary, at the very least, derail from PlanetSide content on my channel while I kind of learn the game and whatnot. I got to play at SOE Live for a bit. Seems like a lot of fun, and looking forward to that starting on the 15th. So you can check out some of that action on my channel as well if you're interested, before buying into early access or before checking it out or anything like that. Just kind of doing the usual tower slash base stomping as light assault, there's been some pretty decent situations for light assault gameplay at the bases we've been at tonight, so that's why I've kind of kept it consistent with NC and with light assault. I know sometimes it's boring for folks that chiefly play other classes or other empires, and I do try to switch it up, especially if I notice that one whole episode I played one empire or one class. I try to switch it up the next week, or something like that. But also, if you ever want to see something in particular, feel free to ask, especially on my own streams where things are just a little bit more casual and laid back. Oftentimes it's good to do some random things like, hey, use the trap, or the Eidolon, or the Nyx, or something like that. Nice, Vinny. But I think this light assault play is relatively self-explanatory. Nothing absolutely amazing, but just kind of playing any angles available to you and making use of cover that both exists and that you can create, while trying to keep the vertical height advantage on your enemy as much as you possibly can. I wish I had sticky grenades for that. Got guys on Spitfire turrets. McSonic or MC Sonic? No, I'm personally not going to play Star Citizen, although there is an official Future Crew chapter for Star Citizen. There are a lot of guys that have invested some time and money into that already, and are very interested. So I'm sure by proxy I will at least be kept relatively apprised of what's going on, and I'm sure there'll be some other folks that I could certainly refer who'll be playing it and streaming it and things like that. But I personally don't think that I will be at the moment. Planning on sticking it out with PlanetSide 2 for the long haul, just like I did with PlanetSide 1. And other than that, games on the horizon include H1Z1, all of the upcoming SOE titles, Landmark, EQ Next. Even if they're not things that I play extensively, certainly going to be playing them for a bit at launch or at beginning of early access or alpha or beta. As well as Overwatch from Blizzard. I thought that looked really interesting, and that's a bit further off, but it's on my radar for sure. Not yet, Bad Omen. He said don't crowd around your email inboxes just yet. They're gonna announce the date first in a couple of days, and then the invites are actually gonna come out shortly before the beta begins. So I think you'll have time to know. Pal, I generally still prefer Nanoweave in 99% of situations. You can certainly make other things work just fine. There have been times where, for one reason or another, I'll grab a ammunition belt or advanced shield capacitor or something like that. But my default go-to is definitely Nanoweave. I feel like it has the potential, at least, to help me out in almost every situation that I'm in, since I try to prioritize getting killed by enemies or friendlies, since I try to prioritize infantry combat and things like that. Yeah, just another troll. Looking forward to it, man. Glitcher, I pretty much don't. While I probably own every COD and Battlefield title to date, and have certainly played them, especially Battlefield. Have spent a considerable thousands of hours playing as a series. It's usually not something that I stream. Like, for instance, when Hardline comes out, I'll probably stream it for a bit, just like I did when BF4, BF3 came out, and so on and so forth. I think BC2 was probably the game that I dedicated the most to out of the Battlefield franchise. But it also just so happened to be released at a really convenient time for me to get some good playtime in. But yeah, I mean, Hardline will probably be the type of game that I'll play for a bit when it comes out. You might see it on the stream here and there for first couple weeks or whatever. But I'm assuming it's not going to have quite the long term that a game like PlanetSide 2 would have. And COD is largely controversial, if not extremely popular at the same time, as I'm sure you know. So I usually stray away from streaming it or anything like that. Honestly, I've probably played more COD single player than I have multiplayer. It's just the multiplayer has never been something that I've really enjoyed all that much. some certain game types and modes and maps or renditions of the game I have, but it's usually just something that I play on the side. But I'd be surprised if I get a whole lot of time out of it. Oh yeah, yes. I definitely would say BC2 is my favorite Battlefield. I know it's not necessarily everybody's, but it's up there for sure for most people, I believe. That's interesting, 2001 Hawk. I'm not actually sure. If you're getting that error, that very well may be the case, but it might be worth checking in on forums or on Twitter or somewhere and seeing if you can find an answer for certain. It could just be a bug. But I don't know. It's possible that it is signups are closed for it. I find that hard to believe. It might just be temporarily down while they do whatever they do and get a first wave of invites or something like that. I'm sure they'll continue taking signups at some point here, if not at the moment. But Turtle Master, I mean, it's a good question, but what Calaroo said is totally true. It is all personal taste oriented, and will change drastically for different players. There's so many variables. I don't know that anything that works for me would be something that I could just tell you, hey, here's what you do, and that's how it'll work for you. For instance, I probably have played somewhere from 2,000 to 3,000 hours of PlanetSide 2 so far, and I think I was up over 5,000 hours of PlanetSide 1. And it really doesn't ever get boring to me. There are, times of I guess kind of burnout phases or whatever, especially if you play a whole lot in a short period of time, or things like that. Whoa, we got some morphing going on. And I think that's totally normal. It's even completely normal for what some of these guys are doing, and just deciding to take a break, whether it be for a couple days, couple weeks, or indefinitely, and then kind of come back to it. I certainly did that. I mean, I played PlanetSide 1 for so many years. There were times where I didn't really play for a month or so, and then I would come back to it kind of full speed at that point. So that certainly helps if you are feeling burnt out about something. If it's a game you truly are really passionate about, like I am with the PlanetSide series, you almost always can play something else for a bit, kind of let that burnout fade off, and then you'll be wanting to come back and feeling even better about it than ever. At least that was the experience I had, especially with PlanetSide 1. As much as I played that game for like 7 years, it was kind of a thing where there was probably 5-6 different times where I was like, alright, I need to take a month break or something like that, and I did. And it was never because I hated the game or I was quitting forever or anything like that, but just whatever was going on in my life, or however I was feeling about the game at that point, and I was able to come back to it even better than ever at that point. Beyond that, it's kind of just a matter of what personally appeals to you in choosing a game to begin with. Like, for instance, Call of Duty, I take as an example, unfortunately, just because it's hard for me to get past, like, the first few hours of playing online multiplayer Call of Duty, and not because I'm bad at it or anything. It just doesn't appeal to me in terms of the gameplay at all. I'd much rather play something like Unreal Tournament, Quake, even Counter-Strike, or especially PlanetSide. So it's just, and for even reasons that I can't really even place on my finger all the time, it's just unappealing. So it's funny, for all of the CODs that I have, I'm like, I think I only ever even prestiged once in one game, and that was Black Ops 1. I don't even think I got to rank 50 once in any of the other games. And that's just an example of, they're good games, obviously. There's millions of people that play them and play them day in and day out, but just not for me. Whereas PlanetSide has game mechanics and systems that keep me interested for the long term. I think the whole MMO aspect, as well as the progression aspect, does a lot for me in that sense as well. So, kind of a stream of consciousness here, but I hope that helps. This is kind of a really odd situation. I'd almost go and grab like a flash or something, but I think the hills might just make it a little too awkward for any sort of ease of use in a flash. Having this high ground though, very helpful. Actually, now that Sunder is down there, that could totally work. If you came around to it, I mean, at least you could have some fun with a Renegade Flash or something goofy like that. Yeah, Glitcher, I have played Titanfall. I almost mentioned it. For one very interesting reason, that I played in beta a lot, and I was like, you know what, I might actually be able to get into this game. And I really thought I was going to. And I pre-ordered and, you know, all the rest and whatever. And I almost burned myself out in beta, I think. There was a situation where like every day for like 2 weeks I was just playing it. And just getting used to it, prepping for launch, and then I got it on launch day. And I got to level 50, max rank, just like, you know, pre-prestige or whatever. Just like in COD. On the very first day that it was out. I did like a 24-hour stream or, you know, something goofy like that. And I got to it on the first day, and I was like so burnt by that, you know, the playing every day during beta plus that I was just like, I sat there the next day and I was like, I really don't want to log on. I kind of realized that there was no long term there for me. I wasn't playing competitively with a team. I wasn't, you know, doing anything crazy. I didn't care for, you know, a handful of the game modes or whatever. So, well, that was really stupid. Sitting here talking. I didn't care for a handful of game modes, so the things that I did play, and I don't even remember right now off the top of my head, were kind of even more limiting of me, because it was like, well, every game feels exactly the same almost. And then, while it was really fun, and I thought the gunplay was very fun, more so than anything I've played other than PlanetSide, as far as, or maybe UT, I guess I could say, as far as the gunplay goes, and just the alternative movement sort of setup. And then it was just like, I don't know. I don't even think I ever logged in after that second day, which is really sad because I was pretty pumped about it. But I really just burned out too quick on something that I realized didn't have a real long term for me, for whatever reason. So it's an interesting or boring, depending on how you look at it, anecdote about that in particular. But PlanetSide, I've always been interested long term, and part of that, you know, not to be mistaken, certainly goes back to the roots and the community. Not only do I, you know, think that PlanetSide has a great community, as well as, you know, SOE being, an extremely forthright, intelligent, you know, development team that communicates with the community better than any other dev team I've seen. But I also had, you know, deep-seated history in PlanetSide 1. It was that game that was there at the right time as a teenager, you know, for me to really get into the whole series, and, you know, kind of no matter what, I was playing PlanetSide 2. Even if PlanetSide 2 is a complete crock that failed miserably, I was gonna have to try it, and, you know, whatever, just because PlanetSide 1 was such a big deal for me growing up. So there's also that, and I mean, that's different for everybody, of course, but that definitely plays into it. Yeah, I mean, that is true, Jusk. I did do a little bit too much. That contributed to the burnout, by doing, I think it was like grabbing all the unlocks and then min-maxing the score because it made no sense to not in whatever game type I was playing. So I was farming bots and doing ridiculous stuff. And then it was kind of that, wow, that was, alright, that was pretty funny. Especially since I got the Mo kill. Oh boy. But yeah. I don't think so, Red Mystics. Far from it, man. It's certainly, you can argue that it has a ton of potential that was unutilized or hasn't been utilized yet. Planetside 1 did also, but there's often only so much you can do with the development team and time and resources that you have. Of course it can be better, but you can kind of say that about just about anything. But I don't think I wouldn't call it a failure at all, but definition of success and failure can vary greatly by the person and by the situation. I was using the Bandit as light assault, and the Tempest, I know a couple people asked, I'm sorry for droning on about life stories. I was using the Tempest, the Directive SMG for Infiltrator, and the AF4A Bandit. An interesting choice for light assault, kind of a gun that I was running advanced laser soft point, almost as if it was a GD7F for close quarters, but you'll see here that it runs a pretty different setup. It's harder hitting, it's made for the mid-range, a little bit slower muzzle velocity, a lot slower fire rate. The other stuff's a little bit more insignificant, but is more accurate by default, both aiming and hip firing, as well as the ADS move speed multiplier, I believe. So it has some edges on the GD7F, for sure. Most probably would still argue that the GD7F is the superior close quarters weapon, mostly just working on the Bandit for Araxium, but I've gotten a hang of it, and it's really not that bad as an all-around choice for a NC carbine that can play the close range if you need it, but if you have to fight somebody at mid-range, long-range, it'll do a lot better than a GD7F would in that situation. ACX-11 probably is my favorite weapon, though. Yeah, nice, right? I'm going to go ahead and give away that other item, the NS Deep Freeze Snowball Gun, if you don't have one from buying it in previous years or buying the holiday bundle this time around. It's a fun gun. You can get a Snowball, a title, by getting kills with it. I think it's 50 or 60 still, which isn't the easiest feat, but certainly very doable. Maybe it's the silver medal, which is 60. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and give that code away probably in 10 seconds or so. So get yourselves ready to type it in if you needs it. I will be giving away another one next week and for the next few foreseeable weeks. Yeah, Bad Omen. That's totally accurate, I think, for a lot of people, myself included. I mean, I used to be able to play UT day in and day out. I don't know if that's just because in the 90s or in early 2000s it was kind of just different expectations for what was available in that sort of genre for FPSs, or if it was just my patience and values and whatever were different at that age. I mean, or some combination thereof. I said 10 seconds, it's been way longer than that. I'm going to go ahead and put this code up for the deep freeze. There it is, and while I am linking that, we're doing a Twitter giveaway for some golden pistols, picking 3 winners on Wednesday night, just so you guys also have that if you're just joining us. You're welcome to enter over there. And I've been just kind of in the giveaway spirit lately, largely thanks to SOE for the things that they've given to give out. But either way, so it's been fun, and happy to help give back to those of you guys that support the channel. I'll hop on over to North Point real quick. At this point, there's only 5 minutes or so left in the stream. Yeah, ACX, I mean, like, I'd be using the ACX if I was playing, you know, in some sort of super competitive sort of situation, or trying to use the absolute best weapon for the situation in a lot of these situations. It might not always be. Like, in a tower fight, it's not necessarily. Like, the range that I killed this guy at, only 10-15 meters, you know, the Bandit or something else would have done better. So it's very relative to the range that you're at. It's probably not something I would have grabbed in a tower fight typically. But also just, you know, was working on Araxiums with these weapons. just because that's what I do. I could run a max, which I'm infinitely terrible at, but yeah, that could be fun and ironic and all the rest. I feel like I want to run a Matic just in case, so I'm gonna do that. And I almost never, ever use maxes anymore. Not that I ever really did. Gratsness. But I figured for the lulz we could switch it up for the last couple minutes here. Running Matics with slugs at the moment, charge and auto repair. Kind of just a solo max sort of a build. Get in, get out, rely on your auto repair to kind of keep you topped off instead of having to have an engineer nearby. It can allow you to be a little bit more aggressive, but it also gets me killed really easily. Matics probably my preference since you can actually kill people at a considerable range, which is of course the NC Max's downfall. Throwing the slugs on just amplifies that, and you can still actually do some pretty good damage up close, unlike handheld shotguns with slugs. If these guys stop taking cover, I can show what the hell I'm talking about. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of maxes myself. This is probably the first time I've pulled a max in a few weeks, if that says anything, and I play most nights of the week. So it was just kind of a funny thing. I was at the terminal, we were in a tower, I didn't know what else I was going to do. I almost never play max, so I wanted to grab one just for the lulz. So don't hate me for it. I'm often way too aggressive to play it intelligently. As easy as maxes are to play, you can be baited into C4 and all sorts of things really easily as well. And I'm pretty good at eating those just because I'm so aggressive that I want to get in and fight these dudes and not sit back and be cautious. You can see the range, speaking of that C4, you can see the range that these maxes can perform at with the Matics and the slugs for that matter. As an example here, even just eating away at that other max. So hopefully that was a good enough demonstration of the quick max. The codes are unfortunately first come first serve and one-time use, just because that's how they are made on the back end in an SOE system. I don't really have any control over that, unfortunately. But yes, I do give out usually at least 2 items each week, and I believe I have the same items lined up for next week, so there definitely will be more. Oh man, Shrewskeet shooting. Oh boy. I'm just asking to be C4'd or something by being up in their face like this. I'm gonna probably be a little extra suicidal here by Ramboing in, just because we're kind of at our time to end the show, but the show will go on until this Max dies or until this Thunderer dies, one way or the other. This is not the most intelligent thing if you are trying to be conservative, but yeah, if you thought NC Maxes had terrible range, I mean they do by default if you're using scat cannons without any sort of slugs or anything like that, but if you throw slugs on, and especially if you use Matics, you can sit at a safe distance, whether you have, whether you have charge or, is that friendly damage? Yeah, partially. Whether you have charge or an Aegis shield, one way or another, kind of support yourself. It's a little goofy how easy they are to use, not just NC Maxes or whatever, but Maxes in general. I kind of wish that wasn't the case, but it's a good it's a good ending to the show for this evening, I suppose. Gonna go ahead and sit here and rezzed, but I'm pretty sure that's all she wrote. That being said, thank you guys so much for tuning in tonight. Again, Happy New Year. The show is about 99% sure that I'm going to be doing it 9 to 10 Eastern or 6 to 7 Pacific in the future. Still Monday nights, just shifting it up a half hour early. I will confirm that once I know for sure, but I believe that is the plan. So I will see you guys roughly the same time next Monday night for episode 24. If you ever have any ideas about the episodes, or want to come and play along or squad up or whatever, ask questions, of course you're always more than welcome to. We do have a Twitter giveaway going on for some golden pistols right now, so I will link that once more in chat, the bit.ly link. Feel free to check that out and don't miss out on it, especially if you don't have any. And I'll be picking 3 winners, and I'll let you select which empire you want if you are one of the winners, and I'll be doing more of those sorts of giveaways in the future, as well as others. There's the gold pistol link again for what that's worth. Anywho, that's about it. Keep your eyes open for PS2 and PS4 news in the very near future to come. Beta starting soon, H1Z1 early access starting soon, all of that and more here and on ItZMuRdA.com. So hope you guys will all join me, and I'll see you next week, if not sooner, on my channel. I will also keep you guys in the loop on all the social medias whenever anything's announced or I hear something. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good one, and I will see you next week or tomorrow, depending. But Happy New Year again, guys. Have a good night. Thanks, everybody. Take care.